Overs and unders. There they go right there, boys.
There it is.
How about that?
Who do y'all like?
All right. I'm going to give you my 2 overs.
Okay.
Not a lot of shock here. Michigan, over 10.5
Let's
wins.
go.
Feel like this is easy money. I think Michigan's going undefeated. I know they go to Penn State, I believe.
Let's go.
I think they go to
Penn State.
Happy Valley.
They go to Penn State. They go to Michigan State.
They go. Not worried about Michigan State. I'll get to that in a second.
Still a rival.
At worst, 11-1. All right. You're returning J.J. McCarthy. I mean, you got Blake Corum coming back. Offensive line's going to be fine. Michigan is the best team in the Big Ten. You got Ohio State coming into the big house at the end of the year. Give me Michigan at worst 11-1. Now, 11-1 have to win the Big Ten to get into the playoff, I think, this year. 12-0, we may have a little bit of insurance built in, but you get that big win against Ohio State late, who we know is going to be talented. They're sitting there over under 10.5 wins. But give me the Michigan scrapping Wolverines.
I like it. I like it. Who else do you have?
Wins. Then my second one. I believed in Drew Aller the first time I saw him. All right, the kid's got an absolute hand cannon attached to his shoulder. I like Penn State. You look at the schedule, I think it sets up well for them.
Wow.
I like Penn State over 9.5 wins. They're the perennial third best looking chick in the Big Ten right now. I think that's where they're going to stay. Give me 10-2. James Franklin, who is he? Is this the sequel to the Arthur show that I grew up watching? I don't know. I could see the similarities, but I think James Franklin figures it out. I like the quarterback situation. I know they lost Jahan Dotson, but there are some very, very talented players in that Penn State locker room, and I think that offensive line is going to be improved. So give me Penn State over 9.5 wins, Michigan over 10.5 wins. A little bit of the same thing we've been
I stayed
saying.
away from the Penn State just because they'd have to win every game other than Michigan and Ohio, but that's what they did last season. So I don't necessarily hate the 10 there. My first one up, Illinois at the 6.5 with Brett Bielema. I think Illinois can go out there and win 7 games. Here's the schedule. One thing that kind of jumps out is I'm always looking at the non-conference games when it comes to these overs and unders. Week 2, you do have Kansas on the road, which usually we wouldn't blink twice at. But the way that Kansas has sort of gotten...
You can click your heels together twice and take that L.
It's not really...
FAU's not a walk in the park
FAU too. So you got Toledo, Kansas, then you got Penn State and FAU there in your first 4. So even if they start 2-2, if they start 2-2, you're still in the Big Ten West. And Illinois won 8 games last year. I think that they could do it again or at least win 7. So I'm taking the over there. And then I'm going to join you on the Michigan, the 10.5. Now, if it was 11.5, kind of like what we were saying with Georgia in the SEC where you have to win every single game, that's a little bit riskier. But the 10.5 with having one insurance game there and then the hook, you got East Carolina for the Wolverines to start, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, 4 home games all in a row. Then you go on the road to Nebraska. Let's see what Matt Rule's doing. On the road to Minnesota. Like we said, on the road at Michigan State, I get that Michigan State is been a little bit disappointing last season, but that's still a rivalry game, you know, and Michigan State's just always going to play Michigan tough. So that's one of your road games. And then Penn State on the road, never a great place to play if you think you're going to get an easy win. They'll probably have the whiteout. It's going to be an electric environment. Then you get the Buckeyes at home. So look, I agree with you, man. Let's go. Let's get over 10.5 there and maybe go undefeated.
I think it's very doable.
Unders?
Yeah, wait for you.
We're doing okay.
Yep.
Well, this is. I mean, look, I'm going chalk on this one, boys. I mean, I'm going Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ohio State's going to lose 1 game. I think that's going to be to Michigan.
Can you read off their schedule?
Ohio State's.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 second.
I get it.
Well, yeah. I mean, one, you bring back Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think might be the best player in college football coming back next year. You still have Travion Henderson, who's a running back who's extremely good. You have
Mine Williams.
Back. I mean, week 1 you go to Indiana.
Win.
Youngstown State.
Win.
Western Kentucky.
Win.
At Notre Dame.
Win.
Win at Maryland at home.
Win.
At Purdue.
Win.
Penn State at home. It's a dub to me. You go to Wisconsin. It's a W to me. Rutgers, W. Michigan State at home. Minnesota at home. Then you go to Michigan. So like Ohio State's just more athletic than these teams. And I obviously you're going to skip a beat with losing C.J. Stroud a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a huge fall off just because you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and the talent they have, the receiver position.
Look, I like it. I mean, how often do we see them lose multiple games in the regular season?
Michigan's lost, only games Michigan's lost the last 3 years, playoff games, except maybe one game.
Yeah.
They lost to Michigan State, Mel Tucker's first year.
That one game.
With Kenneth Walker.
Yep. And then Michigan State's kind of fallen off a cliff, but we'll see. All right, here's my unders.
All right.
Michigan State, under 5.5 wins.
Me
Peyton
too.
Thorne left. They don't have a lot of experience at quarterback. A lot of negative energy, it just seems like, going on right now with Mel Tucker and Michigan State. And you look at their schedule, I saw 5 wins. I saw 5 wins.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if they went 4-8. And I hate to say that because I do think Mel is a good coach. I know a lot of people had a lot of high expectations for him. But I look at that team, and I look at other teams, like Wisconsin. Got to kind of feel better about where Wisconsin's. Nebraska, got to kind of feel better. You know what PJ is at Minnesota. Maryland with little Tua coming back. So, Purdue's a question mark. I like the under for Michigan State at 5.5. And then Illinois, under 6.5 wins. You lost Chase Brown, who saved you on multiple occasions last year with big plays. At some point was your only bit of offense. You lost your defensive coordinator, who was an unbelievable coach, who's now at Purdue, in Ryan Walters. You lost Witherspoon. You lost Chase Brown's twin brother as well, I believe. I believe Sidney's gone. They lost. I don't trust him at the quarterback position. Not that I think they're a flash in the pan, but I 6-6 is what I'm feeling this year when I looked at that schedule. FAU, who now has Tom Herman and Casey Thompson, they're not going to be a walk in the park, as we mentioned. At Kansas, is also not a walk in the park at all. Week 2, I think Kansas is going to win that game, return 10 of 11 starters on the offensive side of the ball. So when you look at this Illinois roster, they lost a ton. Now, that defense was fantastic, but losing their DC, I'm telling you, is going to have a huge impact. To me, they're going to drop off a little bit defensively. They're going to drop off from a big play standpoint. Offensively, we know how Bielema likes to build his offense. Methodical, run to pass. Big boy you, limit your possessions, run the clock. I don't think they're going to get away with it because they don't have a home run hitter like Chase Brown this year. Not saying they don't have good offensive weapons, but I hope people really understand how good Chase Brown was and what he demanded from the defense and how much that opened on the outside, and they were barely able to take advantage of it. So I think it's 6-6.
It's going to be a very telling year for Brett Bielema, but because the best teams in the country are always going to lose players. You have to be able to reload.
Yep.
So can he prove to do that? I agree with you on the Michigan State pick. And, I was thinking about it long and hard because I like Mel Tucker a lot. And 5.5 wins, you'd have to think that they bounce back. But it just comes down to the schedule to me, first of all, which you're going to have Washington now in the second half of that home and home. So you get Washington as one of your non-conference schedule games. With Michael Penix Jr. coming back, they're going to be even better than they were last season. And then your road games, you got Iowa on the road. You got Minnesota on the road, Indiana on the road, with Tom Allen fighting for his job as well, right? Like, I don't think Indiana's going to be great, but you got coaches out there fighting for their jobs. You do get Penn State at home and you get Nebraska at home, but they're going to be improved, I believe. So I agree with you on the Michigan State pick. And then I'm also going to go Maryland under, mostly because it's 7.5. And again, I really like Mike Loxley a lot. I think that they're going to come in, they're going to throw the ball all over the yard on a lot of teams. But again, you're going to play Michigan State on the road. You got the Buckeyes on the road. You got Michigan on the schedule. And, any of these teams that's going to have to play Michigan and the Buckeyes, and you got Michigan State, and you have Penn State. Like, it's hard to get to 8 wins over there to me.
I like that. My first one's going to be Purdue. I feel like with all the changing, one in Purdue, just staff-wise, I mean, who'd you lose? You lost Aiden O'Connell, your quarterback. You lost Charlie Jones, your leading receiver. And you lost Payne Durham, your tight end, who is a phenomenal player. The schedule's not easy. I'm pretty sure their 2 out-of-conference games are at Virginia Tech, and then you go play Syracuse. You're going to need both those wins to get to that 5.5, I believe. Purdue I think Hudson Card is going to be a great piece for them. I just think there's going to be too much changing coming in this year for them to really succeed. I think maybe in a couple of years, Hudson will get to where he needs to be. And then my next one's Iowa. One, because I just don't believe in an anemic offense like that. 7.5, I think they're going to win 7 games, obviously. I mean, you lose Haru at corner. I believe you lost both your corners. That defense will be good, just the way they're coached, the way they recruit. They fit well into their scheme and how they play. But I want to see what the offense is like for Iowa, because if it's not improved any, as the offensive coordinator said, he's not going to change anything. with an offensive like that, it's hard to win 8 games.
Bring in Cade McNamara.
But that's my question. Is Cade McNamara good? It's not like you're having to shoot for the moon here and be the Globetrotters on offense. I mean, you could just be okay on offense, and people in Iowa will be happy because they haven't even seen okay in a while when it comes down to it. When you look at Purdue, I do agree. You lose Jeff Brom, who goes back. Mama came calling. He went back to Louisville. I think Ryan's going to be fine eventually, but there's learning curves when you become a head coach, especially at the Power 5 level. In the Big Ten for the first time, that's where having an old head like Hudson Card, a guy that does have experience, that can keep everything calm, and that's going to be a plus. But there's just so many moving parts.
And 7.5 is kind of a lot for Iowa. I was a little surprised by that line. I guess the easiest lock on here should be Rutgers.
Hey, can't lose.
Not applicable.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to go under that?
Yeah.
But the only 2 on here without the hook are 2 of the new coaches here. You got Wisconsin at 9 with Luke Fickell, and then
number.
Nebraska at 6. Man,
Is that because they're in the West? Is that because they're in the Big Ten West?
Partly, but I think people really believe in Luke Fickell coming in year 1. So how do you feel? I mean, that's why I didn't take it, because it looks like a push to me. 9-3 would be great for him year
9-3 would be balling for Luke Fickell in year 1. You bring in Phil Longo as your OC. We're going to see an offense in Wisconsin we hadn't seen in a while. We obviously know Luke Fickell's defense.
Mordecai coming in.
Yep, you bring in
SMU.
Tanner Mordecai, a guy that can run and throw it. Very, very interested to see how he performs with the weapons around him. We know Braylon Allen, their running back's very, very talented. Wisconsin stays with a good running back and a huge offensive line. So 9 to me, I saw that, and my instinct was take the under. Take the under. But then I look at the schedule, you look at them being in the Big Ten West, and you look at that coaching staff, and you're like, man, I could see that. I could totally see that.
Do they play North Carolina?
Who?
Longo was just at North.
No, I'm sorry, Minnesota. Okay, so the 3 hardest schedules in the Big Ten this year. Purdue has the hardest schedule. Minnesota's second hardest schedule. They go to North Carolina. Sorry. And then Michigan State has the third hardest schedule. But how about Nebraska at 6 wins with no hook?
Man,
I don't know.
I don't either.
I say this all the time. I've watched Matt Rule. Nobody's better at taking a Pinto and refreshing it or exuberizing it, if that's a word, better than Matt Rule. I think it's going to take a little bit more time, but I think we will see progress. You're going to see excitement from Nebraska fans. That's just who they are. The loyalty there runs deep. But I wouldn't be shocked either way. I wouldn't be shocked if they came out and won 7 games. I wouldn't be shocked if they came out and won 4 games. But I do think Matt Rule, while it wasn't the sexiest hire, wasn't prime, it was the right hire for Nebraska. I really do believe that. All right, let's get to the Boosters Club and some calls.
All right, Jimbo Eagle, we finally found it, brother. Let's go. $5 donation. Questions for Blaine. Okay, a.k.a. Mr. I wear my sunglasses at night. No, I do not. So on a scale of 1 to 33, how did you go? Did you go full on Alan Gardner Wolfpack mode this past weekend? Yes, Mom, Oreo smoothie, please. I need that now. But
how about that ride in,
dude? Was wild.
Oreo smoothie.
I still think that the ride into that golf course was wild.
Yeah.
It's like 7 miles of just like
Well, it's like I just kept hearing like a chorus of in church. It's like ah, like I kept hearing like the classical intro from Gucci.
Sniper's paradise out there, that's for sure. Let's go to Iron Eagle. It says, it's bad when your coach has a clause in the contract for the amount of points to be scored. Talking about the Iowa offensive coordinator.
When your job is to score points and then you to put points on the scoreboard for your team, and you do what Iowa did last year. And it's one thing to not score a lot of points. It's another thing to be the most boring, the most non-imaginative, and the least efficient when it comes to excitement. We watch games to get excited. Big plays, big hits. You watch Iowa, the most exciting thing that Iowa did? Stop the run.
Oh.
That's what they did. You watch Iowa, it's a lot of stopping the run. A lot of just stopping the run. Not a lot of explosive plays. And you've had some guys that are talented. I mean, Laporta went early, but it's just such an ugly, old, just unattractive offense.
I'd get it if it was working. I understand.
Well, you might as well run the triple option.
Look, if it doesn't have to be hot as long as it works. At the end of the day, but it's not.
Well, that's what makes it hot. Yeah, if it works.
Well, if you're like
triple option can be sexy.
You're running lead. You're running power. That's fine. It's not hot. No one's out there the air raid's hot, right? It's sexy. It's in right now. It's fetch. Gretchen, make it work. But like it's not working, so change it up.
Well, you know what's even more in now when you look at like the Georgia Bulldogs is having a great offense and a great defense.
Man,
it used to be like you could either have an elite defense and just sort of be average on offense, or let's just go score all the points in the world and have a defense that bends but doesn't break. And now you have Georgia, and that's it. And even Michigan a little bit. If we're just talking about trying to win the Big Ten, like they're very balanced. You know, like a lot of these teams now are proven, we're just going to be elite in every facet of the game. Come beat us.
It's a great strategy. It's a great strategy. Hey, YouTube, appreciate you guys checking us out. If you don't know, we do a live morning show each weekday from 7:30 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Come check us out. We do live call-ins. We have a live chat. It's great interaction. We're talking everything and taking your comments as well. It is a fantastic time. So if you haven't subscribed already, do that. Turn that notification bell on and check us out in the mornings live each weekday, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern.